another edition of Elation Communication series on inclusive communications. I'm very excited to introduce to you our new guest, Pamela McGee, who will discuss inclusive communication and human resources practices. How are you doing today, Pamela?
I am doing fantastic, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here. So Pamela is the CEO of Genuine Executive Management Solutions, which is a human resources consulting firm specializing in HR consulting, government contracting partnerships, and supporting veterans transitioning into the workforce. She also serves as the 2024 president of the Greater Orlando SHRM. And so we're really excited that you're here. Let me just share a little bit more. Before her tenure as the Assistant Vice President of Human Resources, Talent Management, and Total Rewards at Valencia College, she connected and achieved both the SHRM and HRCI certifications and has over 30 years of performance-driven experience. So let me pause, and if you could just share with us, what does SHRM and HRCI stand for?
SHRM stands for Society of Human Resource Management. It's one of the largest human resources organizations globally, with over 300,000 members around across the world, so which is really fantastic. And then the certifications are SHRM or again, Society of Human Resources Certified Professionals. And that's what it is certified, ensuring that we are continuing to maintain our certification to be able to support, organizations and leaders and employment laws, policies, diversity and inclusion, and to make sure that they're continuing to follow the right path to support employees in the workplace.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, well, congratulations on holding both of those certifications. Pamela is also a strategic architect, recognized for her ability to develop innovative HR initiatives that streamline processes and drive organizational growth. Pamela has been married to her husband, Marvin, a retired Air Force veteran for 36 years, and together they have 2 children and 6 grandchildren, and they have great pride in their wonderful family. So this is so exciting. Thank you again for being here with us today, Pamela.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so let's jump into the first question about how would you define inclusive communication in the context of human resources?
Well, a lot of it depends on the leadership. It starts at the top. We want to ensure that there's all forms of communication, whether we're talking verbal, written, digital, especially in this age. And it has to be accessible. It has to be respectful and consider all diverse backgrounds. We're now in our workplaces or environments. We have almost 5 generations, and in the workplace now. So we want to make sure that we're being supportive of all those diverse backgrounds and generations, using the appropriate language, making sure our message is clear to our employees and we're equitable and without bias. That's some of the top keys.
Okay, that's awesome. So why do you believe inclusive communication is important in HR practices?
Oh my goodness. If your employees don't feel valued, they don't feel respected, they don't feel heard, they're not going to put forth the effort while they're there in the workplace. I think you think about what happened during COVID and organizations trying to get back to work. You had so many people say, you know what? After sitting home for 3 months or whatever the case may be, I was really unhappy in that job. They didn't respect me. They didn't listen to me. I'm working to the grind and, I'm not getting the return on investment for myself. So companies have had to take stock in how are they providing an environment that employees feel included? Are we communicating that? Are we engaging our workforce positively? So those true leaders or organizations that are continue to be successful, they took the time to stop, listen, reevaluate, and make those changes, and enhancing collaborations, making employees, it doesn't matter if it's the janitor, if it's the CEO, everybody has an input into an organization. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So you have to see the value in everyone and make sure you're communicating and making sure it's a culture of belonging.
Okay, that's awesome. So, you had mentioned, I really like that point that, we have 5 generations now in the workforce. And so, how do you think that inclusive communication brings together those generations so that particularly, oftentimes there's scenarios where older, experienced employees don't really see the value or don't appreciate what the younger generation brings. And so what are your experiences in addressing those kinds of issues? And what are your recommendations how to help those 5 generations coalesce in the workplace?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. Depending on what's going on, you got to merge those generations together. So maybe you're doing a special project that you have your legacy or more tenured, employees get with those emerging and new employees to work on a project that each will bring their own set of strengths. And they can build on that. And that's when you get the relatability and those aha moments. You're like, wait a minute, it may be a younger or, generation or older, they're not so stuck in their ways. You just don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and then the exposure of them working together, I think helps in how one generation over the other likes communication, how they like to receive it, and their reasoning behind it. What makes sense to them, I think, makes a difference in how an organization can continue that development. Because when that older generation, those baby boomers start to leave, somebody's got to pick up the pace, and passing that succession planning is so important of their knowledge and skills and capabilities and how they got to that place. Maybe the younger generation can get there faster, but they may not do it the right way or be able to expand, once they get there, to take it to the next level. So using the partnership and collaboration, I think, of both and all generations, it makes a big difference.
Okay. And so I know you work with the Greater Orlando SHRM as the president, and I know that area is very diverse. So how do you all deal with the multiculturalism that's in the workplace and, promoting these inclusive practices?
Well, a lot of it, you've got to go to the employees. You've got to use surveys. You've got to find ways to get the details and see what the employees want. And you can't do everything to support employees as far as do everything they're asking for. But you do have to understand that your organization will not continue without your employees. So you've got to be open to the input on what it is going to take to keep them there, because retention is important. The amount of money that you put into or revenue you put into an employee, from the time to the training that you get them, they understand your business, how it works, and then for them to be successful in it, let's commit to them so that they stay, and they're going to stay if they feel included and involved. And that means that we need to train our leaders as well. People that are leaving the organization are not leaving the ABC organization. They are leaving their supervisors, majority of the time. And that's because maybe there's not enough training. There's a lot of reasons why people leave, but we want to make sure that some of that is not because our leadership team is not prepared or equipped to lead an inclusive work environment for employees.
Okay, well, that's a great segue into the next question about how inclusive communication in HR helps to foster a positive organizational culture. And I would like to kind of address the idea of there are some in the workplace who really get inclusive communications, and there are some who don't. And how do you, from an HR perspective, kind of make it a must-have rather than would like to have, right? And so you mentioned training leaders. What are some other ways that HR can help guide this process to transform organizations in this way?
I think you look at individuals or leaders with their unique perspectives and what they can bring to the table as part of that inclusive environment, and encourage the diversity, and celebrate that. And that's where it makes people feel that they're being seen, heard, and they want to engage and their willingness. So you can't force somebody to have empathy or caring or being respectful. You can say it. It can be in your handbook. It's a bylaw, whatever the case may be. But if it's not within a person, or also from their perspective, they're not receiving, then they can't give it. It's a more challenging. So you want to make sure that you're trying to provide different approaches to enhance that innovation, the strengths of the organization. And it's got to be from the top down. If your leadership team is not displaying and showing the inclusiveness that's we're preaching, then it's going to be a challenge for anybody else to show that and do it as well.
How do you measure, how should organizations measure the effectiveness of inclusive communications in HR?
Yeah. So you hear it all the time. You hear about employee surveys, and getting feedback. The key with that is that once you take a survey, the employees want to see some results or something from that survey. Don't just ask us to take a survey and then we see absolutely no change, no adjustments. And it's like you're not listening to us. You don't want employees to feel that taking a survey or you requesting their feedback is just a checkbox. If somebody comes along and you're doing this just to meet a metric, let's do something from it. Let's develop some focus groups from that feedback that you're getting. If you're seeing the consistency of, every time I go into, it may seem minor, but every time I go into a lunchroom, I can't get to a microwave. It's simple. If you got more people, get another microwave. It's small. It really is small things like that we take for granted or ignore that make a big difference. Employees spend more time. An average employee spends more time at work at their employers than they do at home with their family.
Right.
Yeah. So what can we do? So, employee surveys, look at diversity metrics. What are those things that we can track and analyze involving employee engagement and go from there? Again, I mentioned focus groups. If we know there's an opportunity, what can we do to develop communication and make changes within our own employees, by having listening sessions. And that's key, listening, and not just responding, to what you believe is the company standard or whatever the case may be, because C-suite leaders, and it's not their fault, but they've doing more strategizing than anything else. So they're not all the time on the same level as their folks, their frontline employees or supervisors. So listening to those groups is a key value, for an inclusive work environment and communication environment.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I really want to spend a little bit more time on this, because there are many organizations who use these buzzwords, these buzzwords of diversity, buzzword of inclusivity, but there's no real effort to operationalize it. And so, to your point, even if those words are in an employee handbook, how do you bring that to life? So thank you. You've given some really solid examples of that. And what would you say to those who are kind of leaders, or even sometimes some HR specialists who approach it as such, what's in the policy as opposed to what's in practice?
I think one of the misconceptions when you talk about DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is most folks automatically think about nationality, is a Black, white, Hispanics, and all that. But the diversity piece is not just, to be frank, about skin color.
Mhm.
It's about, how people think, the things they're doing, their beliefs. The inclusiveness is that you take into account everyone's perspective, within the environment, and how can you channel that to the positive of the good in the work environment. Any company that's up and going is there to make results and draw a profit so that they continue on. But you need the employees to do that positively and to continue to grow. You have to find ways that those employees say, this is my company, and my name might not be at the top of it, but everything I do, and I see the value in my input, and my company sees my value, and I feel included. I feel that they see me. I feel that I have input, and I'm encouraged to provide that to this organization because I'm helping it grow. I am the brand. And if they feel like that, I mean, your organization is going to excel by leaps and bounds.
Oh, wow, fantastic. So the last question is, how do you see the role of inclusive communication in HR evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I mean, we see it everywhere now. AI, even in human resources, AI is a huge, huge, huge opportunity that we need to not be afraid of, but embrace. We've got to find ways to do better job at doing strategies in regards to inclusion and diversity. That's one of the key things with SHRM now, Society of Human Resource Management, is we're looking at AI, but also understanding that it's about the inclusiveness in the communication that's more intertwined more than ever to make things happen and to move forward. We need to look at tools and training to help our employees and our teams, and not be afraid of it. Embrace it. There's so many ways we can use training programs to help our not only our frontline, but sometimes our C-suite need to get training too. And just because they're at that level doesn't mean they can't learn more and develop so that they can support the rest of the organization. And then personalized communication. We need to make sure that the demographics of our workforce, that we're personalized in messaging. We're not just sending out standard message. Everybody knows what the same thing's going to happen. Personalized to whatever is going on, the event, the reason, and if you have testimonials from their own employees, their peers. Oh my goodness, what a difference that makes. It makes it more relatable. The employees see that, okay, you are listening to me. You picked Sally from, I know her, I see her in the lunchroom. I had no idea, but you listen to her, you encourage her, and she's talking about her great experience within our organization because we did listen and we're inclusive. I think those are going to be real key things that employers need to do and take account of in the next 5 to 10 years. To make sure to stay engaged.
Okay, wow. And what you're talking about is internal communications, and that's, and aligned with the work that Elation Communication does and supporting organizations. And, that is a very critical point. And, one of the key, I think the overall message is investing in people. Organizations exist to make profit, but to your point, without the people, they can't get there. And so some old school values just always going to be important in this world. And I thank you for coming here today to highlight these things. I mean, really, it's about the people. And I think you've made some critical points on leadership. Leadership has to value these factors that enhance the workplace and thus increase productivity. But people don't want to, they don't feel connected. They don't feel, like you said, valued. Then they would not want to continue to contribute to the bottom line. Thank you. So tell us a little bit more about how the listeners and the viewers can get in touch with Genuine Executive Management Solutions.
Yes. So we are at is GEMS, GEMS-HR.com. My venture into doing HR consulting and being out there to support other organizations and individuals or companies to help those HR departments, to get the most out of their employees. They're encouraging them to support the different aspects of human resources. I'm what you call a generalist, so I do a little bit of everything in HR. My specialty is in employee relations, negotiating conflict and so on. But it's a great opportunity I'm excited about to start on this venture and to help vets transition from the military back into civilian life. So to help them get a leg up on their next stage of life. I'm a veteran myself, so is my husband's a retired vet. So we just have this passion to be able to give back and support. So really excited about this new venture.
All right. Well, I'm excited for you, and hope to have you back with us soon to tell us a little bit more about, the work you're doing for veterans and just in general in helping companies grow their HR practices. So thanks again, Pamela, for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's fantastic.
Yes, thank you. And to our viewers, please continue to follow us at Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Jerrica Talks. You can learn more about Elation Communications at YouTube, on YouTube at Elation Communications, on LinkedIn at Elation-Communications, and on Facebook at Elation Comms. And until next time, become an inclusive communicator. Thank you.